What up, people? Welcome to the Push by Black Show. I'm your host, Christian. This is Game 2 reaction for the Golden State Warriors Toronto Raptors NBA Finals. And this might be a combo cast in the Game 2 and Game 3, depending on how long this one is. I might combine both them into one show, just because I've tried to do this a few times since last night, and I can't seem to get I can't seem to get the length I want for these. So for this one. Okay. So Golden State wins on the road against the Toronto Raptors. Draymond Green almost had a triple-double, 17 points, 9 assists, 10 rebounds. Golden State leading scorer was Klay Thompson. Steph had 23. Let me switch back to the box score. Okay, Klay Thompson had 25. DeMarcus Cousins had 11. Draymond Green had 17. Like I said earlier, almost had a triple-double. Steph Curry had 23. Steph Curry didn't really have a good shooting night at all. They are making sure he doesn't get all the way off, although he did get a little buzz, get a little streak going at the end of the third quarter to start an 18-0 run that Golden State had, and Golden State had on that against Toronto, where Toronto went 4 minutes without scoring. And it wasn't that Golden State was necessarily playing lights out. Yeah, it was an 18-0 run, and statistically, if you look at that, you say, wow, that was a good run. But really, there were stretches where both of them couldn't make a shot, and the only difference is defensively and rebounding, they were able to hold the Raptors. They were able to frustrate the Raptors. Really, Toronto, when they had good shots, they weren't making them. That was a thing for the majority of the game. Like the first half, to me, both teams were kind of sloppy. Klay Thompson was really in the first half. He was really the only one that was able to do anything. He scored Golden State's first 9 points, and it took a minute for the rest of the team to really do anything. DeMarcus Cousins played well defensively, and he was on the help defense. He was around. Pascal didn't really get off like he did in Game 1, and neither did Gasol. Matter of fact, they combined for Pascal Siakam had 12 points versus Game 1's 34, and Gasol had 6 points versus 18 points in Game 1. So that was the Boogie's help defense, and Boogie's being able to handle the ball in the third quarter. That was a big deal. But really, this was a game of runs. Like the 20-0 run really was the big chunk of Golden State's offense, and they were still and basically Toronto was catching up, and they had a 7-0 run. Toronto had a run in the first half. Then they had another 7-0 run in the fourth quarter. It just wasn't enough. Andre Iguodala hit a three to ice the game for them, and gave Golden State a 5-point lead. And that was basically it. Now, I don't know what this means for Game 3 and Game 4, because I don't know what everybody's health is. I don't know what Klay's health situation is, because at the time of this recording, I haven't really checked out the news. Everybody seems to say he's going to play based on what's going on what happened last night with his strained hamstring. We don't know how effective he's going to be. We don't know what Kevon Looney's going to be. Looney had a was it Looney or McKinney? I think it was Looney, or one of those two. They had a shoulder issue. And KD's still out. So it all depends on one, who's gonna be healthy for Game 3, or who's gonna be available for Game 3. I'm not even gonna say health. Who's gonna be available for Game 3? Because Iggy is not healthy, but he's available, and he's still, effective. So it's gonna be who's gonna be effective and who's gonna be available, and what role player or what wrinkle Steve Kerr is going to put in the offense to spark the Warriors. KD might be available for game 3. He might not. We haven't really said that yet. We don't really know yet. So it all depends on who is going to be available for them, and it's going to be what Toronto can do offensively consistently. Because what can they do defensively? Because today was yesterday, and I'm saying today because I watched the replay today from last night. But it all depends on what Toronto is going to do defensively. Because right now they've been able to slow Steph Curry down. It doesn't look like it because he had 34 points in Game 1 and he had 23 in Game 2. And there was a moment in the end of the second quarter and the beginning of the third quarter where he got a little warm on him and he was able to score a little bit. But they've been doing a really good job trapping him and making sure that he's being bothered this series. So it depends on what they're going to do, what the Warriors are going to do to free him up, if he's going to have a better shooting games in Oakland, and what are they going to do defensively to stop the Toronto? Because what Boogie did as far as starting, like I mentioned earlier, Boogie was able to slow Kawhi Leonard down and Pascal down to the point that they were bothered, and Gasol really couldn't really get warm either. So it all depends on who else is going to get warm and who's going to get shots. So I don't know I don't know what this means for the series, because people are like, well, after Game 1, everybody was like, well, if KD doesn't play, then they're going to lose the series. Then Golden State's going to lose the series. Now it's like, and I really haven't looked at what everybody else is saying. I don't know, because Steph, even on bad shooting days, still can get 34, close to 40, and Clay, and quite honestly, Clay started out red hot, but they kind of like drifted off of him a little bit offensively, which they tend to do sometimes. So it all depends on what are they going to do for, the next 2 games, and I don't really know what to say, what's going to go on for Game 3 rather, because it's different. This has been a defensive game for the most part if you're paying attention, and this has just been a game of runs. So it just depends. So at the time of this recording, it is 11:50. This is going to be on the same file, so we'll go from here. We'll see how this goes. So, Toronto not shocks the world, but not really. 123 to 109. Kawhi Leonard had 30 points, 7 rebounds, 6 assists. Okay? That really isn't the story. The story is Klay Thompson didn't play because of the injury. He was scratched before the game started, didn't play. And Toronto had 6 guys in double figures. And everyone had not necessarily career games, but Kyle Lowry had 23 points. Danny Green was like 6 of 10 from 3 with 18. Marc Gasol had 17. Siakam had 18. This was one of the most balanced games that I've seen Toronto play in the playoffs. It wasn't just Kawhi Leonard and then people just not shooting shots. And meanwhile, Golden State Warriors, Steph Curry had 47 and they still lost by they still lost by 14. So basically the game went like this as I switch over to Golden State's box score. Steph Curry had 47 and Draymond Green had 17. But for the majority of the game, they couldn't do anything offensively. Nothing. Iggy had 11 points. DeMarcus Cousins had 4. Quinn Cook had 8. Andrew Bogut had 6. Let's see. And then Quinn Cook had 9. No one other than Iggy and Draymond Green, no one else had double figures. No one else had 20 points other than Steph. It was basically Steph being guarded and being doubled and still getting shots. He put up 47 points. So this game 3, was really, it was weird because it was like there was runs. Here's what it was. There were runs throughout the game through Golden State, and no one seemed to be able to score. But Steph and collectively the Warriors were hanging around. They were hanging around. They were kind of just, they would get the game to like 7 points or 8 points or 9 points and 11. And they'd have these mini runs. And then somebody from Toronto, whether it's Van Vliet, whether it's Siakam, whether it's Kyle Lowry. Kyle Lowry had a crazy game. Kyle Lowry had 23 points, 9 assists. And Danny Green had a crazy game from 3. And it just seemed like whenever the Warriors were able to get a little bit closer to the Raptors, it seemed like there was a three ball, or there was something crazy where there was a dunk, or there was something that made sure that they kept the cushion. And that was the problem. The Golden State Warriors could not figure out how to get anybody else involved other than Steph Curry. And that's going to be a problem. Because if this is what it's going to be, like, all you really needed was somebody to have maybe a 25-point game other than Steph. And we might be talking about a totally different thing. See, now, I don't know. Because it's funny, and I should have had him on here because we had a good conversation. But Kingsley Obach, contributor to this podcast, he called me because we were texting back and forth about the game, and he really does not want the Warriors to win. He's like, there should be somebody else to win. I want the Raptors to win. No basketball reason at all. He's just tired of seeing the Warriors. Warriors fatigue, right? So I'm like, calm down. KD's going to play. Clay was hurt. Toronto did what they were supposed to do. So, relax. I was telling him to relax. Calm down. It's fine. He was like, put money on it. I was like, I'm not betting you. He wanted me to bet $200. I'm like, I'm not betting you $200 on this. And he's like, why not? And I said, because it's a bad bet. They're up to, Toronto's up 2-1. I'm not betting for the Warriors to win because we don't really know health-wise what's going to happen. I said in the first part of this that I recorded right after Game 2 that I don't know what's going to happen, that it's all about who's healthy. And basically Toronto won because the only person healthy was Steph. And KD's still out and Clay was out. I still don't know what's going to happen because KD's out and Clay's out. Clay might play Friday. KD might play Friday. We don't know. I do know this, though. If Toronto plays like they played today, then this is going to be a rough series if Steph is the only one out there. They've been pressuring him the entire series, and he's great enough to where he still puts up numbers, but they're not. This isn't an easy series for him. And he put up 47 tonight, and they lost by 13. So they lost by 14. So, and they couldn't get enough. They couldn't get enough to get that to reach the hump. So I don't know. I'm not gonna give Toronto just the series because there were guys that Danny Green has had a horrible Eastern Conference Finals, and he shot 6 threes. And you had Siakam was back, like I mentioned earlier. Like I went down the box score for Toronto earlier, and they played pedestrian numbers if you look at the box score. But if you actually like watch how they played, guys had like big shots. There were 6 double figures. There were 6 players in double figures. And everybody played really, really balanced and really engaged. And this is role players were playing really well and young players were playing really well on the road. So they got one more game in Oakland to do that. I think the Warriors will figure it out because at some point, either Clay or KD is going to play. And even if they play, even if they're at 80% or Clay's at like 75%, that helps Curry out because I think if he got a little bit of help, we'd be talking about a different thing. But Toronto, even if they tie the game, they got to go back to Toronto for Game 5, and they got to go back for Game 7. Golden State has to win 3 games. Toronto has to win 2 games. So I'm not giving the Raptors the series, but they're a better candidate for an upset now, just because I don't know how stuff is going to be. And Steph had like a career night tonight, and the only other person to match that career in the finals is LeBron James when he dropped 51. So I don't know, man. Like now instead of it being 6, I think the Warriors are going to be, I don't know, Warriors in 7. Warriors in 6 or 7. I had them in 6. I think they're going to win it. They're going to win in 7 games, but it's going to be hard because that means you'd have to win on the road. But yeah, man, like it was a good game though. I was very impressed with Toronto and how they defended well. They're still defending well. They're still bothering Curry. They're still. I'm impressed with the fact that the Golden State Warriors continued fighting up until the last 3 minutes of the game, and then Kerr kind of put them, put everybody on the bench and kind of rested everybody the last three minutes. But that was a heck of a game. But it was always, I was waiting for that run to happen, but it never came. So anyway, this is gonna be put up now. It's gonna be a game 3, and a game 2, and a game 3. 2 and a game 3 podcast, and I'm gonna put this up tomorrow morning. So anyway, I will definitely see you guys for game 4, and we'll go from there. But yeah, this is a crazy game. Toronto beats the Golden State Warriors 23-109. They are up 2-1, and we'll see what happens Friday. Anyway, later.